Have you ever looked at someone you trusted your entire life and suddenly wondered if that person might be the reason you almost died? My name is Aria Bennett. I'm 27 years old, and until recently, I believe my life was completely ordinary. I had a steady job, a small family, and a routine that rarely changed. Nothing dramatic ever happened in our house. Most evenings ended the same way, with dinner around the table, quiet conversation, and everyone eventually drifting off to their own rooms. For a long time, that routine made me feel safe. Now I understand how easily danger can hide inside normal life. About a month before everything collapsed, I began feeling strangely tired. At first, it was subtle. I would wake up exhausted even after sleeping a full night. My body felt heavy, as if I had spent the night running instead of resting. Some mornings my hands trembled slightly when I reached for my phone. I blamed work. My job as an assistant manager at a small private office kept me busy. Emails, paperwork, and constant deadlines filled most of my days. It seemed logical to assume stress was the cause. But the symptoms didn't fade. They grew worse. A few weeks later, dizziness started creeping in. It would arrive suddenly, sometimes while I was sitting at my desk, sometimes while I was walking through the office hallway. The room would spin for a few seconds and then settle again. I remember laughing it off with a coworker once, saying I probably just needed more sleep. Looking back now, that moment makes me shiver. My body had already been trying to warn me. At home, life continued normally. I lived with my father, my stepmother, and my younger sister, Lena. We had lived together for years, and nothing about our family seemed unusual. My father had always been a quiet man. He worked hard, spoke little, and rarely showed emotion. My stepmother was warm and organized. She liked keeping the house running smoothly. Lena, who was 3 years younger than me, had always been energetic and curious. Despite small arguments that every family has, we were close. At least I thought we were. The night everything changed began like any other weekday evening. I came home slightly late from work. The house smelled comforting, filled with the scent of dinner cooking in the kitchen. My stepmother was finishing the meal when I walked in. "Aria, you're late," she said gently. "Work was busy," I replied with a tired smile. My father was already sitting at the dining table, quietly eating. He glanced up when I entered but didn't say much. That was typical for him. Lena sat across from where I usually sat, scrolling through her phone. "You look exhausted," she said when she saw me. "Just a long day," I answered. We sat down and started eating together like we always did. Plates moved across the table, and quiet conversation filled the room. Everything felt ordinary. Halfway through dinner, I noticed something strange. The room felt slightly unsteady. I blinked a few times, trying to focus on the plate in front of me. Then the dizziness intensified. The walls seemed to tilt. "Aria, are you okay?" Lena asked. Her voice sounded distant, like it was coming from another room. I'm not sure," I murmured. Suddenly my hands felt weak. The spoon slipped from my fingers and clattered against the floor. Darkness closed in before I could say anything else. The next thing I remember was waking up in a hospital bed. The lights above me were painfully bright, and voices echoed faintly around the room. "Aria, can you hear me?" When my eyes finally focused, I saw my stepmother sitting beside the bed, gripping my hand tightly. Tears streamed down her face. Lena stood next to her, pale and exhausted. My father stood a few steps behind them, silent. "What happened?" I asked weakly. No one answered at first. Then a doctor entered the room and checked the monitor beside my bed. After a moment, he turned toward me. "You've been unconscious for almost 24 hours, he said. My heart skipped. Why? The doctor paused before answering. Your condition was caused by poisoning. The word echoed in my mind. Poisoning? I repeated quietly. He nodded. Our tests indicate small amounts of a toxic substance in your system over several weeks. My stepmother gasped. Lena shook her head in disbelief. That can't be right, she whispered. But the doctor continued calmly. Your immune system is strong. That's the main reason you survived. If you had arrived later, your body might not have been able to fight it. A cold realization spread through my chest. Someone had been poisoning me slowly, and whoever it was had been close enough to do it repeatedly. Later that evening, 2 police officers arrived at the hospital. They asked questions about my daily routine, the food I had eaten, and the people around me. The more I answered, the more uncomfortable the situation became. Most of my meals had been eaten at home, with my family. News of the poisoning spread quickly among relatives who came to visit. Whispers began circulating in the hallway. Some of them suspected Lena. She's always been jealous of her sister, one relative murmured quietly. The accusation shocked everyone. Lena burst into tears immediately. I would never hurt her, she said. But suspicion can spread quickly when fear is involved. The police eventually asked Lena to come to the station for questioning. Watching my sister leave the hospital with them felt unbearable. Even though I told myself I trusted her, doubt still crept into my thoughts. The investigation lasted several days. Police searched our home, examined food containers, and questioned co-workers from my office. Despite all their efforts, no clear evidence appeared. Eventually, Lena was released. When she visited me in the hospital afterward, she seemed different. The fear in her expression had turned into determination. You believe me, right? She asked quietly. Yes, I said. This time I truly meant it. She nodded slowly. If it wasn't me, then the person responsible must be someone very close to us. Her words made my heart race. What do you mean? I asked. She hesitated before speaking again. Do you remember who gave you juice every evening during the last few weeks? The memory appeared instantly in my mind. My father often brought me a glass of juice after dinner. He always insisted I drink it because it was healthy. That doesn't prove anything, I said carefully. I know, Lena replied. Then she took out her phone. Last night I heard Dad talking on the phone downstairs, she said. I recorded part of it. She pressed play. My father's voice filled the quiet hospital room. She got lucky this time, he said. Next time I won't miss. My chest tightened. The words were unmistakable. My own father had been trying to kill me. After I left the hospital a few days later, Lena and I confronted him at home. He didn't deny anything. He listened to the recording quietly and then sighed. You want to know why? He asked. His explanation was painful but simple. Years earlier, my grandfather had left most of the family property and savings to me instead of to him. Resentment had grown slowly inside him. But there was another reason too. The day your mother died, he said quietly, you insisted we go out that afternoon. His eyes filled with tears. If we had stayed home, the accident might never have happened. He had blamed me for her death for years. Standing there listening to him, I felt both heartbreak and disbelief. But I made a decision in that moment. I won't do what you tried to do to me, I said. He looked at me confused. You wanted the inheritance? I continued. You can have it. Then I added the words that ended everything between us. But from today onward, I'm no longer your daughter. 2 days later, he turned himself in to the police and confessed. No one forced him to go. Sometimes guilt becomes heavier than any punishment. And sometimes the worst consequence of betrayal isn't prison. It's realizing you destroyed the people who once loved you the most.